Assistant Director for Leadership in the Center for Student Involvement at Kansas State University. Today, we have 6 students joining us to tell us about their involvement experience at K-State and share their advice to you all. And so without further ado, let me introduce our panelists. Lily Hurt.
Yeah, hi, my name is Lily. I am a senior in food science. I am from Wichita, Kansas. And one of my favorite K-State experiences that I've had so far is really getting to work with the housing and dining services and getting to know the people I work with, because now I've known a lot of them for 4 years and the bonds that we've made over those 4 years.
And Peyton Masoner.
Hi, I'm a senior in architectural engineering. I'm from Lee's Summit, Missouri. My favorite K-State experience was probably in spring 2019, whenever K-State beat KU at home during the basketball game. I think that was a pretty exciting day.
Ryan Urban.
Yeah, so I'm Ryan Urban. I'm a graduate student in journalism and mass communication. I'm from Lewisburg, Kansas, and I think my favorite K-State memory is probably just seeing everything kind of grow and change within the last 2 years, even with a crazy pandemic.
Sid Jambunathan.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Sid Jambunathan, and I am a 5th-year graduate student in architecture from Shawnee, Kansas. And my favorite memory, I guess, from being, within my K-State career so far has been being able to study abroad last spring in Prague in the Czech Republic. Despite it being cut a little short due to the pandemic, it was still a great memory.
Lexi Palmer.
Yeah, my name is Lexi Palmer. I'm a kinesiology major with a secondary major in gerontology. I'm from Fredonia, Kansas, and my favorite experience so far was going on a alternative breaks spring break trip.
And Michael Dowd.
Hi, I'm Michael Dowd. I am a junior studying animal science and global food systems leadership. And I'm originally from Spring Hill, Kansas, so just south of Kansas City. My favorite K-State experience is the fact that our classes, at least in the College of Ag, are very hands-on. And just today, we were doing lab samples actually on the farm. So I think that's so cool that we get to learn things and then apply it on the same day.
Great. Welcome all of you, and thank you again for being here as our panelists and participating in this panel to tell everyone about your experiences here at K-State. So I'm going to pick a couple of you for each question, and if you have anything else to add, feel free to unmute yourselves and speak, or raise your hand if that works better for you. But Sid, I'm going to throw the first question your way. How did you get involved at K-State? How did you know where to start, or how did you figure that out?
Yeah, well, I guess initially I didn't know, right? I came to K-State and I was looking to get involved in kind of my residential community and in my architectural community, but I wasn't sure how to. But it was kind of the older students and mentors that I got connected with that really pointed me in the right direction. So the RAs I had in my floor in Goodnow, the community assistants that I got connected with, and my RLA, because I was part of a CAT community my freshman year. And then in the College of Architecture, I was paired up with some older students as mentors, and they got me involved in several of those architectural organizations. And then also going through the Staley School of Leadership, some faculty members like Mike Finnegan got me connected with a lot of organizations there as well. So it's been primarily student mentors and older students and faculty members that have kind of helped me connect with different organizations and help me get involved.
Thanks. Peyton, same question. How did you get involved? How did you figure that out?
Yeah, it was definitely difficult for me first year, just because I was out of state and I didn't really know anybody coming into K-State. So I just kind of started with stuff that I was already getting email listservs from. So Women in Engineering, your freshman year, you start up with a mentor. So I kind of helped, had my mentor help me figure out what to do. I also got emails from cause ambassadors, which actually I got them from Sarah. So I got emails from those freshman year, and I started out with that club and have been doing it since freshman year and have got involved with leadership over the years. So just like figuring out that, and then from those different clubs, I was able to talk to people who were older than me, who knew of other clubs that I might be interested in, and figure out times and dates for those and join those events as well.
Great. And one more, Lily, tell us about your experience in getting involved at K-State.
Yeah, so my experience in getting involved, when I first came as a freshman, I had no idea where to start. I was very anxious from the whole transitioning just to college in general. But I actually started by getting a job in my residence hall as a CA or community assistant. And then from there, the people that I met through that job really helped me reach out to other organizations and to other people on campus and to get more involved, as well as some of my friends as well, kind of pushed me to try new things and things that I wouldn't have probably normally tried. So just really the connections I made kind of pushed me forward.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. And well, next question, Ryan, I'll put this one to you. I know you're involved in at least one student organization. Can you tell us what organization or organizations you're involved in, and what attracted you to that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am involved with the Union Program Council, or UPC. I'm also a brother of the Kappa Sigma Social Fraternity, and then I'm also the president of Alpha Phi Omega, which is a service organization. I hang out with a group called Epsilon Tau Pi, which is a group of Eagle Scouts on campus, and then I'm one of the awards and recognition co-chairs for the Graduate Student Council. So I stay pretty active, and I kind of like being active. I don't really like to sit around and be bored very often. In terms of what kind of attracted me to that, or how I got involved with it, it was a lot of just kind of reaching out and seeing what was out there. I knew K-State had a couple things like the Eagle Scouts. I knew that they were already here, so I reached out to them. Meeting APO was a total kind of happenstance. There was a different APO back at my undergrad. So I thought that I was going back to that, and they're like, oh no, we're totally different, but we clicked. UPC was kind of happenstance as well. I was actually going to Rocky Horror, and I had a poster from like 2 years prior that my friend had given me, thinking that that was like this year's poster that they had just kept for some reason. And then the then director of UPC, Beth, I went to the office and I was like, I'm just really confused. This isn't in Forum Hall. Like it's locked shut. And she's like, oh no, it's upstairs. And then, Beth was super friendly. She immediately asked, well, who are you? And it came out that I had done a very similar role to the UPC roles at my undergrad as well. That's when I got involved with UPC. So for me, it's a lot of happenstance, but it's a lot of kind of taking that initiative to reach out and say hi as well. That's a really powerful step.
Great, thanks. And Michael, how about you? What organizations are you involved in, and what attracted you to that experience?
Yeah, so two of my, I guess, most prominent organizations that I've been a part of are Student Governing Organization and also Greek Life through Alpha Gamma Rho fraternity. And, really getting connected and invested in my fraternity from, senior year of high school, and immediately jumping in and living with that group got me very well connected across all of campus. And it was just really cool to see how those connections then led to future experiences. One of those being SGA. I had a classmate right above me who reached out and said, hey, I think you'd be really good. And I think you, ought to run for Senate and kind of serve in that capacity. And so I did that my sophomore year, really loved the experience. And what attracted me to it was the amount of power that students have on this campus. Every year, students end up paying this item called the privilege fee, and so that pays for other student services across campus, like the rec and our health service, just a multitude of things. And that entire fund is completely managed by students and Student Governing Association. And so I think it's so cool that K-State believes in this idea of shared governance, and the fact that students can successfully manage those funds is really, really cool to me, because it truly empowers us to make decisions that impact us positively.
Thanks. And I know both of you, it sounds like, mentioned your fraternity. So let me ask about sorority experience really quickly. Lexi, how about you? Do you have experience in a sorority? And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I am a member of Alpha Chi Omega, and I actually went through the continuous open bidding process. So I joined as a sophomore, and through my sorority, I've had numerous opportunities and held different leadership positions. So it's really pushed me outside of my comfort zone, getting to know more people, improving my communication skills, and also my leadership skills through helping run part of recruitment and planning different retreats and just helping with other things and on like philanthropy committee and stuff like that. So it's really also provided me with other leadership opportunities outside of organizations specifically through campus. So
Great. And Peyton, I believe you also have experience in sorority, but you are also on a sport club as well. So could you tell us a little bit about both of those experiences?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm in Alpha Omega Epsilon, which I guess a few years ago, it only started a few years ago here at K-State. It used to be known as like the STEM sorority on campus. We had a major requirements, so the people that were allowed to join were only STEM majors, but now we've dropped our major requirements. We're more of I guess we're like 50-50 social and professional. So we do a lot of professional events, which is nice. We've done like mock interviews. We've done like a fashion show for, professional attire, stuff like that around just STEM majors for a while. We have a lot of women in engineering, so that's how it kind of started. So it's a little bit different than the normal, I guess, experience that most people get, because you don't have to go through the recruitment process. You kind of have to complete going to a meeting and then going to a social event. And then from there, you have to go through to get a bid. So it's a little bit different than the formal process. So I really like that, because I didn't really see myself going through the process, but I still got a very similar experience that the people in traditional sororities get. And then as for a club sport, I did swim my freshman year, which was a lot of fun. I hadn't swam in a few years, so it was more just to meet some people and to get into shape a little bit. So the nice thing about club swim was there wasn't any tryouts. So if you just wanted to join, you could join. And then the people who were the team captains or the president, vice president, they normally made the workouts for the practice that day. And we normally practice 2 hours a day, I think maybe 3 days a week. And then one practice normally more of a fun practice where we did water polo or something like that. But there's other club sports around. So if you want to a little bit more competitive, there's other ones where you do have to try out and make the team. But all the club sports teams, COVID aside, you get to travel to other schools and compete against other schools. They normally have nationals normally club sports that you did in high school would have as well. So it's a pretty unique experience, and you get to know a lot of cool people through it. So
great, thank you. And I know that's just a few of the different types of student organizations we have at K-State. We also have our academic organizations, our academic competition teams, our honoraries, multicultural student organizations, general, special interest, and community service organizations as well. So I'm not going to call on anyone specifically, but if there is anything additional any of you would like to share about your student organization experience, we'd love to hear it.
yeah, I can share a little bit. I'm in kinesiology student association, so that's specifically for my major, but I mean any major can join if you're interested. And so basically I joined as a freshman, and the meetings, basically we get speakers, maybe they're a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, a physician, a personal trainer, just kind of specific to kinesiology, what you can do with your degree after you graduate. And so they'll come speak at our meetings and talk about their experience. Some are alum from K-State, what they did with their degree specifically. And so they kind of just help us form those connections to further our career after graduation. And so after my freshman year, I got involved in the officer team. And so I've been an officer now for 3 years, and I'm serving as the president this year. And so we also just do fun things across campus to promote kinesiology and promote physical activity across campus. And yeah, so that's something fun that you can do. There's different organizations for your majors. So I've really enjoyed it. And it's really helped me form relationships with my peers in kinesiology and then also the faculty in kinesiology.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else want to talk about a student organization experience?
Yeah, I can kind of talk about a couple things. I've been involved with the Staley School of Leadership. So last fall, I was a class leader for the Lead 212 class. So the way the Lead 212 class works is that half of it is kind of facilitated by the faculty members, and then the other half of it, the students are split into small groups where each of those groups are facilitated by a student leader. So it was a cool opportunity my freshman year taking Lead 212, and then a few years later being on the other end of that, being kind of a mentor and advisor and facilitator for like a group of 12 students. And then the other thing I got involved with through the school leadership was Mortar Board, which is an honorary kind of scholarship, academic service, and leadership organization that works to do community service around the Manhattan community and within the K-State community as well. So I was on the scholarship committee for that. So we worked to gather funds and then provide a scholarship for a junior student at K-State, and then also present a faculty award for different faculty members around campus who we felt deserved it.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Lily, I'm coming to you next. I know that several of you have on-campus employment experiences, and Lily, I think you already mentioned at least one of yours. So can you talk to us about finding a job on campus and what that experience has done for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I kind of mentioned, as a freshman, I lived in the residence halls. I lived in Moorhome, and I was, I guess, kind of warned by my dad, because this was just his personal opinion, that he did not want me to have a job at any point during my first year of college. And of course, having newfound freedom, I basically did the complete opposite of what he said. But I told myself that, like, if I wasn't gonna, so I went ahead and applied because they had open applications that fall to be a CA. And I said, if I wasn't going to get that job, then I just wouldn't have looked any further, even though I kind of still was looking just a little bit, just kind of through K-State's Career Center, mostly just for on-campus jobs. But I was actually very fortunate enough to get that CA position. So I worked that position all that year. I had a really fun time doing it. And I actually had that job for 2 years. But that door actually opened up a lot of other opportunities, which actually has kept me employed on campus my entire 4 years of being at K-State, all with housing and dining. So, I mean, I've been a CA for them. I was an RA one summer for them. Now I'm an office assistant for Moore Hall. So I've continuously really been employed with them. But again, that all really stemmed from me just basically ignoring my dad's advice, as bad as that sounds. But it's been a lot of fun. I've loved meeting all the really fun people that I've worked with, and being able to explore a lot of new leadership opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten had I not done that.
And Ryan, how about you? I know you have held some positions here at K-State as well. So what's your on-campus employment experience like?
Yeah, so since I got to K-State, I've been a graduate teaching assistant, which is the only way that I can continue to do school and do my graduate program. So that's been really fun, because I've actually had some unique opportunities to teach, to develop the lesson plans and things like that in terms of my department. Simultaneously, all throughout last year, right up until the pandemic hit. So literally just like a week ago last year, I was also a stagehand at McCain Auditorium. And so that was kind of like a nice day job in addition to the money I would have made on the graduate student side. And that was also really nice because, like I said earlier, I don't like to sit around and be bored. I like to get up and move things. So theater is a great position for that. Of course, like I said, with that, the pandemic ended. So I did start looking for places outside of campus. I ended up working at Farm Bureau for a while. Now I'm kind of doing my own kind of freelance social media coordination for small companies, local companies here in town. It's really fun. And so there's employment opportunities all over campus and all over town. There's other opportunities like working for the Collegian is a big one. I think it's almost like a prerequisite for students at K-State to write for the Collegian at some point in their life or take photos for it. It almost seems like a rite of passage. So I think the opportunities are really, really endless here, and it's really exciting.
Peyton, is there anything you'd like to add too about on-campus employment?
I can't think of much. I think it's kind of nice though, because knowing that hopefully classes will be going back in person next semester, you're already going to be on campus. So it is kind of nice to not have to leave in order to go to your job. I've tutored for scholars, assistant scholars in the engineering building since my freshman year, and I've been doing that. I guess it's my 7th semester now. So I've been doing that for a while, but it was really nice because I was there a lot of the time my first semester. So I already kind of knew the people that worked there because I was there studying all the time. And then, yeah, 2nd semester, it was nice to start working. And then I just haven't stopped working there. So I think it's a good opportunity working on campus, but like Ryan said, there's a lot of opportunities for jobs around town as well.
And Sid, you're the other person I know who may have held some jobs on campus. Is there anything else you'd like to share as well?
Yeah, I've definitely had a few. I think the two main ones I can talk about are I was also a CA at Goodnow Hall my freshman and sophomore years, so that was a really cool experience being able to work that front desk and kind of foster a sense of community within the residential halls and be able to have that type of responsibility. And then the job I've had for the past 2 years is within the College of Architecture, Planning, and Design. I work in the dean's office, and I kind of basically just do whatever they need me to do. I'm just on call. So that it just involves, we hold a lot, under normal circumstances, we hold a lot of in-person events and activities and celebrations. So organizing and coordinating that, creating a lot of the digital displays and graphics around the college, doing a lot of with open house and just student involvement things, and just being kind of an overall ambassador of the college is kind of what the job entails. But I think it's definitely been a great opportunity to be involved in that way and had a little more experience with the College of Architecture.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Michael, I have a question for you. You, it seems, have done some undergraduate research. Can you tell us about that experience on campus?
Yeah, so the really neat thing about animal science undergrad research is that we actually have a class specifically for it. And so it was, I think, a 3-credit-hour class, but essentially like the project itself was already planned out by the instructor. And so by taking the class, we basically helped with the different chores, helped with data collection, helped actually put together everything at the very end. And so that experience was really cool because not only were we getting hands-on experience with collecting all of that and being part of the actual project, but we could also then take all of that data and bring up our own interpretations and then present it, with the rest of our peers. So at the very end of the project, they printed out all of our final posters, and we were able to kind of just share with other industry experts and with some of the funders of the program, all the things that we'd learned. So I really loved it because I was debating going to grad school. And so that experience allowed me to see, okay, maybe this isn't the thing that I'm most passionate about, but it's definitely something that I'm interested in.
Very cool. Awesome. All right, now we're going to switch gears and talk a little bit about the wide variety of community service opportunities there are at K-State. Lexi, can I ask you to share a little bit about what service programs you've been involved in?
Yeah, so I actually went on an alternative breaks trip through the Staley Leadership School of Studies. And so what that is, it's you use your spring break to go on a service trip somewhere. There's different locations. I specifically went to Dallas. I think another group went to Colorado. And so there I got to volunteer through Aid Services of Dallas, and we really just stayed on campus and fully immersed ourselves into the lives of individuals living with HIV and AIDS. And so this trip was spent speaking with the residents, learning about HIV and AIDS, and then discussing the healthcare disparities. And then we also completed service projects, we helped paint a fence on campus, just kind of cleaning up the campus, making sure it's in good shape. And then we also went to their main office and helped them file some paperwork and stuff. And so that was just a really great opportunity. I met a lot of other K-State students that I think that was my favorite part is there was a diverse group of students that it was so many different mix of personalities and stuff that it made a really fun group. And the leaders at Aid Services of Dallas were so nice. K-State students go there every year. And so they toured us around Dallas and they took us to dinner and stuff. And they were just so nice and appreciated our help. And so that was one of my favorite experiences, especially spending that week with other K-State leaders. I learned a lot just from them.
Great. Michael, I'll come back to you and ask you to share with us your experience with community service.
Yeah, so I guess really this past year as basic needs director in the executive branch, I had a really unique opportunity to help out not only with Cat's Cupboard, which is our food pantry at K-State, but also to help out with a new program called Kansas Student Table. And so this program basically provides around 400 to 500 meals, contactless, like drive-through type of service to K-State students every Wednesday. And so I really just loved working with that group and also getting to like see the actual impact of the service that we were putting out, because I mean, you were literally delivering food to K-State students who are in need. And so it's just really cool that we were able to see that need and be part of a way to help alleviate that hunger.
Thank you. I know several other of you have experience with community service, and I just wanted to offer the opportunity. Would anyone else like to share their experience?
Yeah, I can go on that one if you'd like. Alpha Phi Omega is an organization that's entirely dedicated to service, and I think it's really exciting because anyone can join it. The only requirement is you have to be a K-State student. And here he comes again, you've been blessed. It is really exciting because we can kind of it's funny that Michael brings up the Kansas Student Table because we were just there getting meals out for the mobile distribution, a few weeks ago. In a couple weeks, we're making fleece blankets for some people who are needing them. And it's everything. It goes from being able to do videos for the elderly so they know that they're not alone and kind of help their mental health. We're going to do reading children's books to kids via Zoom recordings for that in the next couple of weeks. And so it's really exciting to be able to give back both to campus, to each other, and then to the Manhattan community as well. And I think that that's something that a lot of people are looking for. It's really nice right now. And APO has been on campus for 90 years. This is our 90th anniversary. So we've been kind of celebrating that as well. And being able to do all these really wonderful things, both as Wildcats and as Manhattanites.
Great, thank you. And now I would like to talk a little bit about the multicultural programs at K-State. So we have a variety of these, whether it's KS Unite, the new Morris Family Multicultural Student Center, the LGBT Resource Center. So Lily, let me start with you and ask you what your experience is with multicultural programs at K-State.
Yeah, so I currently also, and for this last year and the year prior, I also have a position on the union governing board. And why I bring that up is because in a lot of those meetings, they were talking to us a lot about the building of the Multicultural Center here on campus. So we kind of, I guess, got a lot of details about, how that was coming along, since it's pretty much attached to the union. And then we were also kind of privy to like a lot of the design concepts and things like that, and kind of being stepped through the process of when that was being built, which I think was really awesome. They definitely got a lot of feedback from us about kind of what did students want to see, how did we want to incorporate that, and kind of also have that unity with the union as well. So that was actually a really cool process to kind of just to get to step through. And then also, because that building is technically attached to the union, when we had the ribbon cutting back in November, I'm also part of the Student Union Ambassadors. And so we kind of partnered with the Multicultural Student Center to help them with, and even though that at that time it was kind of it kind of shifted to being a virtual event and it was all kind of through Zoom. Several of the ambassadors at the time and myself actually helped kind of them set up the things that they needed for the ribbon cutting. And And there was a small crowd there, so they just kind of wanted other people there just to make sure everything was cool. People were social distancing and things like that. But then really besides that, I haven't had a ton of experience with some of the other resources on campus. I've dabbled a little bit in like the LGBT Resource Center, and that was mostly through housing and dining because we've had various speakers from these different organizations come and speak to us and just kind of let us know about the resources in general, as well as like giving us the information we need to also inform others. So, but yeah.
Great, thank you. Michael, how about you? What has your experience been with multicultural programs at K-State?
Yeah, so I attended Case Unite my freshman and sophomore year and really enjoyed that experience. And, I hope that we can continue to expand that so that it's more of like a constant conversation. And that whole program was really built on this idea of making sure that all areas of K-State feel united and brought together under the same mission of the K-State family. And so when I think about multicultural programs, the one that really comes to mind for me is within the College of Ag, we have our Manners chapter. And so that's minorities in agriculture and natural resources. And this program has been really influential as far as shaping my mindset. Coming to college, especially, growing up openly gay, and well, I wasn't open at the time, but now in agriculture was definitely challenging at times. And so being able to attend those events and and really expand my mindset and kind of change the way that I view the world has been really, really influential in where I'm at in my career right now.
Wonderful. And Sid, how about you? Can you tell us about your experience with multicultural programs at K-State?
Yeah, definitely. This year I was one of the facilitators for Wildcat Dialogues, and that's been an event that K-State holds that engages, I believe all the freshman students here at K-State in engaging in small facilitation groups about cultural difference, identity difference, and just difference in background and where you come from, in order to get a better understanding of intercultural learning and where we're all from and kind of where we're coming from. So as a facilitator, I led a discussion about that that kind of revolved around storytelling. So each member in our group got the opportunity to tell a story that pertained to their specific culture and identity, and kind of how that has then in turn affected their outlook on life and their kind of worldview. And then we proceeded to have a dialogue as to how all those stories connect in a way. And thus we're all here at K-State, no matter where we come from, no matter what our identity and background, we can all be still connected in some way and find that sense of belonging and affirmation, which were the whole goals of Wildcat Dialogue. So that was a really cool experience to facilitate and be a part of.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And Ryan, how about you? Is there anything you'd like to share about your experience with multicultural programs at K-State?
Yeah, so this time last year, I was the multicultural co-chair for the Union Program Council. And that particular chair relies very heavily on student collaborations with other organizations. But we were able to collaborate with certain religious organizations on campus and share what was called Interbelief Exploration Day, where people were able to come and learn about all sorts of different religions, which I know growing up in Kansas, in a very small town, as many people in Kansas are from, we don't get a whole lot of that extra culture. We kind of get one or two religions and maybe just learn that if we're lucky. And then we were able to do every year we have a hand in the K-State drag show. That was at McCain. This year will of course be virtual, but that's always really exciting because that's kind of the premier event for the LGBTQ plus community for this region, because once you reach Wichita, unfortunately the space for that disappears. So we get people from all over the Midwest coming and descending upon McCain Auditorium for the drag show, and that's always really exciting to see and be able to walk away knowing that you just had a very successful event, even though most of the work kind of sits with the LGBTQ Resource Center.
Great. I kind of want to run on this theme now of cultural experiences. So the first way I'm going to do that is go back to Sid and ask you to tell us about your experience with education abroad.
Yeah, like I mentioned, it was probably my favorite experience here at K-State, but one of the cool things about the College of Architecture is that within your fourth year, a study abroad kind of semester is integrated within the curriculum. So you have the opportunity to go to a variety of places around mostly Europe. So K-State has a campus in Orvieto, Italy, that a lot of students go to. Myself specifically, I went to Czech Tech in Prague in the Czech Republic. So that was a uh, kind of university where students from all around the world, not just K-State, so students from all around Europe and Asia and different colleges in America came together to participate in that one university. And so I had the opportunity to study there from, I think, the beginning of February up until March, till the pandemic happened and everything went crazy. But within the time frame I was there, I had the opportunity to meet with a whole bunch of students from different cultures and backgrounds and countries and develop those relationships. We didn't just stay in Prague. We had the flexibility to travel around Europe. So we went to Germany and Greece and Austria, and those were obviously just amazing experiences. And then having the ability to just take classes in a different college and study architecture through different faculty members and through different methods that we might not be accustomed to here at K-State was also just a rewarding experience.
Thank you. So now, again, continue with the culture theme and focusing back here at K-State. Our athletic culture at K-State is not necessarily something everyone participates in, but I think it's something that K-State is known for on a very broad and public scale. So Lexi, let me ask you, what has your experience been like participating in our, again, athletic culture at K-State?
Yeah, I'm one who loves to go to the football games and the basketball games. And so one of my favorite things is our tradition of the Wabash. I love doing that at every single game. But I guess a unique experience I had is I had the opportunity to participate in one of like the timeout events that K-State does. So I had to like roll a dice and get like a certain number. So I had to make like 4 free throws. And unfortunately, I only made 3, so I didn't win the money, but that was still something really fun. I got to do it in the crowd, and actually I had a lot of family members and people from my hometown there, so they got to watch me do that. So that was a lot of fun. So there's always different events going on in the middle of the games that they pull K-State students for, so that's a really unique and fun experience.
Awesome. And Peyton, how about you? What's your experience been like participating in the variety of athletic events?
Yeah, same with what Lexi said. it's just a fun environment to be at, especially like the basketball and football games. Obviously, those are like the 2 bigger sports at K-State. So there's a lot of people there. So you get to meet people there, and it's just like everyone's, in a good mood, unless we're losing, obviously. But I just feel like it's a very, I don't know, it's just a fun environment to be in. But I also really enjoyed the other sports that people don't really think about as much. Like I've gone to a ton of volleyball games. Those are always a lot of fun. And all the other sports are free as long as you have your student ID, which is super nice. So I've gone to volleyball games, baseball games. There's other, sports that are going on that are a lot of fun that people, I think, tend to forget about. But as long as you have your K-State ID, you can get into those, which is really convenient.
Awesome. And Michael, how about you? Are you a big sports fan of K-State? What's your experience been like?
Well, I wouldn't say I am the biggest sports fan in general. I don't really keep up except for kind of the big events that happen. But I will say that kind of growing up with my sister was really athletic, and so I was always going to basketball games and track meets and everything. And actually, I think it was about a month or so ago, some of my friends were like, well, why don't we just go to a soccer game? And just like Peyton had said, like those games are free. And quite frankly, it was a lot of fun. Like I had never been to a soccer game before. I wasn't sure what to expect, but we had a great time. And it's just awesome to be surrounded by fellow students and people who are passionate about this university. And that energy and that enthusiasm really, I don't know, I just really feed off of that as an extrovert.
Great. So I think we've covered a little bit about sports clubs and now about athletic events, but we also have our recreational services, which is a facility that allows you to come and exercise, but you can also participate in group sports and in intramurals. And I know several of our panelists have experience with that. So Lily, let me ask you first, what's your experience been like utilizing recreational services at K-State?
Yeah, it's been really awesome. We have a really fantastic rec services, honestly, compared to some of the other universities I've been visited just by visiting friends. I mean, the equipment in ours is really awesome. Pre-COVID, I used to go there fairly regularly to work out or to go run or something. As far as with intramurals, I'm terrible at playing sports. I'm absolutely awful. But my freshman year, there was a group of people who wanted to do intramural basketball, and they needed a couple more people. And I had played basketball in middle school, and again, I was terrible then, and I probably was even worse now. But I was like, sure, I'll do it. And even though us as a team was not very good, we were kind of awful, but again, kind of expected when it was thrown together like that. It was a really fun experience. Number one, the rec services, the way that they organize their intramural teams is really well done. They're very organized. They're very on top of all that kind of stuff. But number two, it's also, they just make it a really fun experience to be able to hang out with people like that and to be able to play a sport just for fun and to just do it to get the exercise or for whatever reason. So I really enjoy using their services, and I think they do a really good job with it.
Great. And I know there's several of you, like I said, who have utilized rec services. Is there any other volunteers who would like to share maybe what their experience has been like?
I'll just add on that there's also group classes that they do, which are really nice. I'm really bad at planning workouts and, knowing what to do. So those are super convenient. They have a big schedule that's online that you can go to. It lists all the different classes, has a breakdown of what they do in each class and, what it works on. And they're a lot of fun. They have an instructor up at the front, sometimes two instructors, and you just kind of follow them for normally 45 minutes to an hour. So those are a pretty easy and convenient way to work out if you aren't very good at coming up with your own workouts.
Great. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just kind of add to that off of both of what Lily and Peyton said is, yeah, I love the group classes. I love that we have cycle classes. Those are my favorite, but we also have HIIT classes, and then also you can do Zumba classes. So it's really a wide variety of different classes. And then I played sports in high school, like basketball and volleyball. So I really have loved getting to play intramural basketball with my friends and roommates, and also have played intramural basketball or volleyball through my sorority. So that's been a really fun time. So I really enjoy doing intramurals and just those fitness classes at the rec also.
Great, thank you. Okay, one more subject I want to touch on before we kind of go into our wrap up is leadership development. And I know a couple of you have specifically mentioned this already, that as you get involved, and especially the more you invest in certain things, you find yourself taking on leadership roles and just even learning leadership skills throughout your experiences. So I guess first I'll go back to Sid. I know you mentioned taking some courses in leadership studies. Can you tell us a little bit about what your maybe leadership journey or leadership development has been like at K-State?
Yeah, definitely. It's been an interesting one because I remember when I was the first prospective student at K-State, I was talking to someone about the leadership studies program, not really knowing what it was about. I think that's something that's very unique to K-State that I didn't really see at other colleges. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try out the freshman level class. And I ended up really enjoying it because not only did I form kind of a community my freshman year that I kind of kept in touch with, but also really got me really passionate about incorporating what I learned in leadership studies into the rest of my curriculum. So I think it's something that can be applicable to whatever major you are. I was in architecture, but I still found it very useful to kind of take part in those classes. So after that class, I took the next two classes, which was culture and context, and I can't remember the other one right now. But then this most recent class I took this past semester was kind of the capstone level class where we got to determine kind of what our senior project was and use all the leadership skills that we had gotten up to that point or that we had learned and really made it about something that we were passionate about. So that was, I think, one of the rewarding parts about the leadership program. And then, like I mentioned before, getting to be a class leader for that freshman level class, and then also being part of mortarboard. I think there's plenty of opportunities within the school leadership to get involved, form community, and develop the skills that I think you sometimes don't get the opportunity to use in your regular academics or curriculum.
Perfect. Thank you. Lily, how about you? What has been your leadership journey or leadership development story at K-State?
Yeah, so mine, again, kind of a lot of what I've done is honestly stemmed from housing and dining, so I'm very thankful to those folks over there. So after kind of having a couple different jobs with them, as far as with leadership, my sophomore year, I got involved with the Residence Hall Council. So again, I lived in Moore, so it was the Moore Hall Council. So I got a lot of leadership experience from that. I was the secretary that year, and then about the last 8 weeks, our treasurer left. So then I was also the treasurer. So I was doing a lot for them, learning very rapidly kind of what was going on, how to do programs, how to lead like a team, things like that. And then from there, I also kind of got involved, and this was also thanks to kind of a close friend of mine at that time, with the Association of Residence Halls, which is basically the governing board for all of the residence halls on campus. And that really helped me expand kind of my leadership because I was able to go on 2 separate conferences. One was at St. Louis University and one was at Missouri S&T. And it's basically a weekend you get away and you pretty much dive headfirst into learning about leadership and how you can better yourself, better your campus, better the residence halls, and the general life and vibe of that as well at those conferences. So those were like just mega weekends, learning a lot about different leadership procedures, how other campuses do things like that. And then I also got involved my sophomore year at the end of the year end of my freshman year with the student union ambassadors. And pretty much when we came back from summer breaks at the beginning of my sophomore year, I was kind of walking in thinking that I was just going to be like a general body member. And our advisor and the lead student union ambassador walked up to me and they were like, hey, we have an opening on our exec board for the residence life lead, community lead, and you're really involved with res life. Would you be willing to pick up this position? And I mean, at first I was a little like stunned, I guess, because I wasn't really expecting to immediately be thrown into an executive position, having very little knowledge about the organization as a whole. But again, a lot of this was just kind of chance and luck, honestly, in the beginning. But that really helped me grow again because I was just kind of thrown into something new. So it kind of helped me learn the skills of like, you got to kind of go with the flow. You kind of have to adjust on the fly, which is something that I was not very used to at the time. So a lot of my skills were honed from chances that I got that kind of just fell into my lap. And it's kind of put me where I am today. It's gotten me a lot of great life skills and it's gotten me a lot of great memories that I've collected from those things.
Wonderful. Ryan, how about you? What's your leadership development experience been like?
Oh, geez. During undergrad, I was able to take some leadership classes. And then when I got here to K-State, I really had no intentions of taking on leadership roles like I did. I kind of started out with the Graduate Student Council in my head. I was like, we'll just stick with one, it'll be fine. And then one became 5 million. I'm president of both UPC and APO right now. And I think it kind of echoes Lily in a way that people just kind of came up and said, hey, here's your leadership role. Because APO, because of the pandemic, we had stopped meeting, and then half of our organization graduated that May, and so they didn't really tell me, but they made me president and then left. So it's kind of like, okay, cool, that's great. And then in UPC, our president stepped down, and like I said, Beth at the time, who was the then program director, I just got an email from her saying, "Hey, you want to be president? Like, what do you think? You know, I feel like you'd be a good fit. Do you feel like you'd be a good fit? We'll go through it." And so we had a couple meetings about that, and I mean, it was pretty straightforward from there. I did get to take part in the Graduate Student Leadership Development Program, which is hosted by the Staley School. And I think we're really, really lucky here at K-State because not only are we kind of within spitting distance of Wichita, but that's where the Kansas Leadership Center is. And so the Staley School uses a lot from the KLC. The KLC, you know, we've got this great working partnership with them, which is almost unheard of from the other state universities here in Kansas, for the exception of maybe Wichita State, considering they're, you know, in each other's backyards. And I think the leadership development has been really rewarding as well. Like UPC, we've been able to make some very tough decisions, seem almost flawless in a very unique time. With APO, like I said, they didn't really tell me I was president, so I just kind of walked in, and everyone's like, "Oh, Mr. President," and you know, I'm like, "Oh no, not my president." And it was a lot of kind of generalized chaos, but we've been able to quadruple our membership in it since the beginning of this year. Which has been really rewarding just to see it grow and kind of come back from the dead at the last possible second.
Great. Peyton, I heard you mention earlier you were getting more and more involved in an organization and started to take on some leadership roles. But yeah, can you tell us what your leadership experience has been like at K-State?
Yeah, for sure. I guess I also kind of just got thrown into mine as well. I feel like that tends to happen sometimes when people graduate and they're like, okay, we need someone to step up. So for cause ambassadors, like I said, I've been involved in that since freshman year. And so I just kind of, with that one, I kind of slowly worked my way up, did some, you know, chair positions, and then was secretary my, I guess, junior year. Yeah, during the pandemic. And then this last semester, our president actually graduated in the spring. So then the person who was vice president moved up to president, and I got kind of thrown into vice president for a semester before we got to hold elections at the end of last semester. So that was kind of fun, especially since I'd been in that club for a while. But I'm also in Engineers Without Borders, and I joined that, I guess, like the semester before the pandemic, so fall 2019. I hadn't really been involved at all. And then they had a trip planned to go to Guatemala to implement their retaining wall. They needed like a group to go, and I was like, that sounds interesting. So I luckily got to go on that trip, and then afterwards I was kind of thrown into a PMEL lead, which was like a kind of like a, you know, project manager type lead. So we had another project going on down there. We were working on a kitchen, which actually is now being implemented, which is exciting. So I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for leadership, and if you're kind of looking for them or know the right people, you can definitely figure out how to get into those roles just by, you know, talking to people and people graduating. So
Great. Lexi, your turn. Tell us about your leadership journey here at K-State.
Yeah, so my leadership journey just kind of really started with me getting involved in Kinesiology Student Association my freshman year. And then I just really enjoyed interacting with my peers and the faculty, and getting to hear different speakers at the meetings. So I was like, whoa, I really like this organization. So I was like, this is a good way for me to get involved. I was always heavily involved and held officer positions in high school. So that's something I knew I wanted to do in college. And so I saw the opportunity and filled out the application. And I've served as the public relations officer, vice president, and now I'm serving as the president. So I've done that for the past 3 years. And it's really been just a fun opportunity to interact with the faculty and work with other officers to create opportunities for students in kinesiology. And so it's just a really fun organization that I've enjoyed. And it's also helped me develop different leadership skills, communication skills, and form relationships with students I probably wouldn't have otherwise. So I've really appreciated my experience through my major and through that organization here at K-State.
Wonderful. And Michael, you are our incoming student body president. So can you share with us what your leadership journey at K-State has been like?
Yeah, of course. I came from a high school where, you know, I really focused a lot on a few specific organizations. And that honestly is my biggest piece of advice to incoming freshmen and incoming students is, you know, find those areas where you can really get plugged in and connected to, because, you know, it's just like having, you know, on K-State's campus, we have over 500 student orgs, and that's awesome. That's also like having 500 cars. You know, we want to make sure that you find the car, find the organization that you can really find your community and your people with. And that for me was first with Greek Life, and second with getting involved in Quest. So Quest is the Freshman Honor Society. And that experience was just really, really influential. Connected me with a mentor who was a senior in Blue Key, and Blue Key is the senior honor society. It goes hand in hand with Mortarboard. Yeah, and so just really loved that experience, and felt as though you know, it really opened my eyes to seeing that leadership comes in all sorts of backgrounds and from all across campus. And so from that experience, then it evolved into getting more involved with Student Governing Association. And that's kind of where I found my passion was, you know, finding ways that we can use student funds to the best of our abilities, and advocating and being a voice for students. And so those experiences really, yeah, I feel like I've learned a lot through them. And I would say that I place such a high priority on that development, and how much that has prepared me for a career in leadership. And that's all thanks to you know, the people who pushed me to get involved, and more importantly, the community that I found in those different places.
Great. It's been so lovely and amazing to hear about all of your experiences at K-State. And so thank you all so much for sharing. I have some wrap-up questions now I want to get into. And Peyton, I'll start by asking you, so with everything you've been involved in that we've been hearing about for the last little bit, how did you manage it all? How did you find time to balance your involvement, your academics, your own well-being? What did that look like for you?
Definitely a lot of time management and learning a lot of time management. It's a very important skill to have for sure. So like I said, with an on-campus job, if you have that's kind of nice because you don't have to leave campus, but also you're going to have breaks in between your classes. Sometimes you're going to have hour, 2 hour breaks. I would just recommend, do not go home. Don't go back to your dorm room. Don't do that. Stay on campus and get some work done during that time. Or if you have an on-campus job, work during that time so you're doing something productive. I think that's important. Keeping a relatively healthy sleep schedule is important as well. I know that's kind of hard in college, especially once you get up to your upper classes, but I feel like if you learn that your first 2 years, things aren't as crazy, might be a little bit easier down the road. And then just you know, reaching out to other people and making sure that you are making those connections, because I mean, college can feel lonely at the beginning. I won't lie about that. Sometimes it can feel lonely. So as long as you make sure you're reaching out and understand that other people are in the same boat, that's very helpful, I think.
And Lily, how about you? How have you managed all of your involvement and on-campus employment and organization work as well? How did you find time to balance all of that?
Yeah, first and foremost, Google Calendars and Outlook calendars became my best friend very, very quickly. But honestly, I mean, it is a really tough balancing act because definitely college is definitely, I think, definitely been one of my most hectic 4 years of my life. I feel like I'm almost going nonstop, but it's been a ton of fun. So, I mean, my advice is always to get involved. You know, be careful to never do too much where you're overextending yourself to the point of just pure exhaustion. But I mean, this is a once in a lifetime thing. I know that's a very stereotypical thing to say. My parents said it to me and I didn't believe them, that this is a very unique time in your life, but it's a lot of fun. Honestly, I had to balance it a lot because I honestly, kind of conveniently, a lot of my friends had very similar schedules to mine. And I found friends that were equally, if not more, involved than myself. So they kind of understood, if I was getting frustrated about, you know, this one thing or whatever, they kind of understood me and could relate to me. And so we could sit there and kind of talk it out and rant at each other about how frustrating X, Y, and Z could be at times, and things like that. But kind of definitely what Peyton says, you know, understanding that everybody is kind of in that same boat as you, and finding those people that, you know, you can kind of grow close to move forward together is always a great thing. because yeah, college is a lot of fun and you can make it a lot of fun by yourself, but it's even more fun when you can find really unique and exceptional people to do it with as well.
Great. Michael, I'm going to come back to you for this one. What is your biggest takeaway from being involved?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the people, and understanding how people operate, understanding how to come together as a team, understanding how to build community even in those small moments. Those are all like very people-oriented things, and like across almost any career, being able to work and find community in those places is something that like makes your job a lot easier and makes it more rewarding in the long term. And so, I think like throughout all of the different leadership opportunities that I think everyone on this call has experienced, I think the resounding theme is just this idea that like you're working with people, and that's what makes it hard at times, and that's what also makes it really, really rewarding. And so yeah, college is this weird experience where like you are like totally in control of your own journey, but there's also like a lot of things that can be laid right in front of you. And so yeah, I guess like focus in on those things that are important to you, but also really focus in on the people, because those are the memories that you'll walk away with. It's the staying up until 1 a.m. working on a project with your teammates. Those are the nights that I remember, like leaving Hale Library at 2 a.m. after, having just a really long meeting. Like that's what I'm remembering and taking away from this. And yeah, so all incoming students, just soak it all in, be a sponge, and focus in on the people, because that's what matters.
Ryan, how about you? What's your biggest takeaway from your involvement experience?
I traditionally try to cast a wide net, and I think I kind of do the opposite. A lot of people have said, kind of pick something and stick with it. Whereas I like to be social and be out there. So I like to be around my friends and up and moving, and kind of that no sleep lifestyle. That's really what I enjoy, which is, I can see a couple of people just already cringing from that. But I think my biggest takeaway from this is make sure that whatever you do, it's going to be something you enjoy, and B, do it with all your heart. Because if you go in kind of half-fledged, or just kind of like, well, I'll do it and it'll be a resume booster and I'll be in and out in 2 hours, you're going to be miserable. I was just in a seminar the other day where I was trying to get something for my resume, and I was like, why do I keep doing this to myself? Because even at the graduate level, it's so easy to do, because you're constantly kind of in our culture, we're constantly kind of posed to think ahead and always be thinking about our futures, and not so much the ability to be here and present and now. And ideally, we're going to have all of our futures to think about our futures, and it's important to also enjoy our present.
Thank you. Okay, last question. Lexi, I'm coming to you. What advice do you have for incoming K-State students about getting involved in college?
My first piece of advice would be to attend the activities fair. There's one every fall at the beginning of the semester, and one every spring at the beginning of the semester. And that's the biggest place that I went. I went as a freshman, and they have all of the clubs and organizations have booths set up where you can learn about them and you can sign up and get more information. And that's how you can get involved and attend meetings and stuff. And so I think that's a good opportunity to get involved in clubs you've heard about already and you want to do. And then also is a way to see clubs that you're like, oh wow, I didn't even know they had that. And so that's something you could maybe step outside of your comfort zone and try, because I definitely think getting involved early and trying as many things as you want your freshman year is the opportunity to do it, because I think getting involved early also opens doors for other opportunities. And I just think that getting involved makes your K-State experience even more fun. So the more things you do and more people you meet, the more experiences you have, just makes college such a great experience.
Thank you. And Sid, same question to you. What advice do you have for incoming K-State students about getting involved during college?
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what Lexi said and add on to that. Find the things that you're passionate about and that really interest you, and try to get involved with those things, because then I feel like that's when you get the most out of those K-State involvement experiences. Like there's no point in getting involved if you're just going to weekly meetings and just kind of going through the motions, right? It's about finding what helps your own growth and development, kind of what helps your own or fulfills your own interests and passions, and then where you can find those communities and relationships that I think really create this cohesive college experience. And then, once you're in those involvements and gone past that, don't be afraid to like keep those connections and stay connected with those groups, because I think those will end up helping you in the long run. I'm at the near end of my college career, and I still keep in touch with all the organizations I've been a part of, all the faculty members and student members I've kind of built relationships with. And so that has been a helpful part of finding a sense of belonging and community here at K-State, and which is something that any student does at any college. But I think specifically here, the organizations at K-State do a really great job of creating that community. So yeah, I would just say keep those relationships, find the things you're passionate about, and you're bound to have a good experience.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone again for serving on our panel and providing insight into what your involvement experience has been like at K-State. We greatly appreciate hearing from all of you, and we getting to benefit from your wisdom and your experience. So thank you all again for being on our panel, and have a great evening.